Hi, I'm Cyndie Klorer, and I am the proprietor of the Metropolitan here at 59 Main Street in San Andreas, California. I was born and raised here in Calaveras County, graduated from Calaveras High School, and my husband Benjamin and I took over management of the Metropolitan in January of 2019 when, struck by a moment of temporary insanity, we decided to start a new business, Wall Entertainment Troupe. So here's a little bit about the history of this beautiful facility, the Metropolitan. In an article written by Calaveras Historical Society's founder, Judge J.A. Smith, he states that the Metropolitan Hotel was known at the time for being one of the most substantial hotel buildings in the country. The Metropolitan Hotel was built on this site in 1859. Most of the building materials for the Metropolitan Hotel were imported around the Horn. The ground floor boasted a large lobby, spacious dining room, kitchen, bar, and washrooms. Upstairs were 30 bedchambers and a large parlor. Below was a commodities basement where salesmen might exhibit their wares. There was also a portico with a fancy iron grill. All stagecoaches in San Andreas made their departures and arrivals at the Metropolitan Hotel. Now, at this time, the landlord was J.W. Willard and the manager was Ben Hawes, a former Calaveras County sheriff. Of course, one cannot talk about the history of our county without commenting on the notable historical celebrities. The celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County is an 1865 short story by Mark Twain. It was his first great success as a writer and brought him national attention. In it, the narrator retells a story he heard from a bartender, Simon Wheeler, allegedly at the Angels Hotel in Angels Camp, California, about the gambler Jim Smiley. But anybody who's anybody around here knows that old Sam Clemens was actually sitting right here at the Metropolitan Bar Room when the inspiration for the Jumping Frog struck him. In 1883, renowned stagecoach robber, the debonair Mr. Charles Bowles, also known as Black Bart, was arrested in Calaveras County, later to be tried across the street in the San Andreas courthouse. And who's to say he, too, didn't frequent the only stage stop in San Andreas to plot his robberies? Known as a peace-loving man, Joaquin Murrieta is said to have gone from 49er to the Robin Hood of the West after his brother's hanging and his wife's violent abuse, possibly resulting in her death as a result of allegations that Murrieta stole a mule in 1851. Murrieta's plight of vengeance is believed to have started right here in San Andreas. An article from the Calaveras Prospect, July 31, 1926, reads, "Fire of a mysterious origin broke out in the annex of the Metropolitan Hotel about 1 o'clock Sunday morning and was not stopped until property value of approximately $50,000 was consumed. I relate, who roomed the annex, was awakened and noticed the smoke. Opening his door, the flames forced him back into the room, and he gave the alarm from a window. George Treat, who lives across the street, heard him and secured a ladder and rescued Late and several other occupants of that building. Ed Leonard, A.D. Mentz, J.C. Twizzleman, and several other odd fellows returning from Jenny Lind arrived and assisted in stopping the spread of fire. Telephone messages for help were sent to the surrounding towns, and all of them responded. Chemical engines arrived from Angels and Jackson, but both too late to be of much service, while Chief Murphy of Stockton came up with a crew of men in his car and also started a chemical engine from that city, which was turned back before arriving here. And there she sat, a pile of rubble, for about 25 years, until somebody had an idea. Post-World War II, a Quonset hut was brought on the site of the old Metropolitan Hotel. Quonset huts were first manufactured in 1941 when the United States Navy needed an all-purpose, lightweight building that could be shipped anywhere and assembled without skilled labor. Between 150,000 and 170,000 Quonset huts were manufactured during World War II, and the military sold its surplus huts to the public after the war. Many remain standing throughout the United States as outbuildings, businesses, or even homes, and they're often seen at military museums and other places featuring World War II memorabilia. Ours, of course, was a movie house. It seems that everyone who comes to the Metropolitan has a story about the old movie theater. For example, my mother went on her first date here when she was young. My oldest sister saw Jaws here, and I have a vague memory of watching Escape to Witch Mountain as a very young girl. Upstairs, there are 2 old projectors with the date 1938 stamped on them. There's a calendar hanging over them from 1977, which I understand is when the movie theater closed down. After sitting vacant for several years, the Calaveras County Arts Council decided to turn the movie theater into a cultural center in the early 1980s. This project was largely dependent upon volunteers, and it was quite limited by funds. Then along came Don Cuneo, who purchased the old theater and shared a vision with the Arts Council. It was Don Cuneo who approached the Arts Council with the suggestion of naming the old cinema after the old hotel that had stood here in its place 125 years before. The board of directors unanimously agreed to name the newly renovated facility the Metropolitan. Don's vision for the Met and for San Andreas was one of community and culture. The Met saw some life as Don served meals, meetings were held, the Metropolitan players were born, proms, weddings, and lives were celebrated. After a couple decades of putting his heart and soul into Main Street, Don made the tough decision to sell his properties. In 2001, Ken Foley purchased much of the block here on Main Street, with a dream to carry the torch that Don had lit. The Foleys added carpet to the lobby and renovated the restrooms. They ran an Italian restaurant out of the Met for a while, and then started just occasionally renting it out as an event venue. Ken's vision of a thriving motel, restaurant, bar, and event venue proved to be difficult to realize under the constraints of regulations set down by government agencies. While the kitchen was used periodically, their main focus was on the Black Bar Inn just up the street, so the Met began to show some signs of neglect. And this brings my story back to where it began. A simple conversation over a couple drinks between my husband and I and Ken and Lorraine Foley. They saw the passion that Benny and I had to take over carrying the torch for the Metropolitan, a desire to inundate San Andreas with art, culture, life, and fun. So a deal was made, and here we are. Not a day goes by where I am not overwhelmed as a new business owner, but also overwhelmed with gratitude for the vision that J.W. Willard had 160 years ago, the vision that our Arts Council shared with Mr. Cuneo, and the vision the Foleys shared with us. This community has welcomed us with open arms and seems to genuinely want to see the Metropolitan succeed. For this we are so grateful. Now, hundreds of people come through her doors each week to dine, drink, dance, sing, learn, entertain, or be entertained. We hope these words from a 1923 article in The Prospect still ring true. San Andreas, one of these fine mornings, will wake up to find that fame and fortune have paid her a visit during the night, and with the intention of making their abiding place with her for an indefinite time. So cheer up, old San Andreas, where sunlight loves to play. Good fortune just o'er yonder, and may be yours now any day.